At the beginning of the pandemic, the biggest fear was the fear of the unknown.
It was very shocking and scary. You know, honestly, it still is.
I've been in the field 13 years and never have I ever experienced anything like this. There was a lot of uncertainty.
As time passed and people got a little bit more lax, it hit. And when it hit us hard.
It feels like just chaos followed. So we're on call every 4 days. Call days are known to be exhausting. With COVID, it just really took us to limits that we didn't even know we may have had.
Personally, I've never felt the kind of anxiety and borderline panic attacks before coming into a shift. Just knowing how bad it was, we were filling every space possible in the ER.
Gurneys, chairs, literally anything that could hold a patient was being used to hold a patient. We had patients that pre-COVID would have gone to ICU on a hallway because that's all we had. It was a war zone. And I don't think a lot of people have talked about that.
We kind of jumped right into it. Myself, as well as some of the other internal medicine residents, as well as some of the family medicine residents, were going into the ICU. We were seeing patients that were critically ill.
I think where you saw the differences is just kind of like the drastic changes they went through when we saw the patient. Like normal pulmonary patients wouldn't react as strongly as COVID patients did.
When we had let's say 10 ventilated patients, I was like, okay, that's fine. But then when it became 18, and then at one point I remember 32, and I'm thinking, do we even have enough vents? And even if we have enough vents, do we have enough people to take care of those vents?
Our unit was one of the very first units that took on any COVID patient, and it was actually yesterday was a whole year.
So let me tell you, it's been a roller coaster ride, emotionally, physically, and mentally. I basically felt like it was a horror movie, to be honest. I've been a nurse for 11 years now, and I still remember when I lost my first COVID patient, and of course I've lost patients in the past, but it was just something different. The hardest part, I think, was, seeing our patients die alone without their loved ones.
This experience has also made us aware of how important it is to make sure that families are involved.
There were a number of times when I would see somebody bring their family to the ER, and the family would be wheeled into the area for respiratory problems, meaning they may well have COVID. And I'd see somebody, a 50-year-old saying goodbye to a parent, knowing that this man might be saying goodbye to his father forever.
We had one gentleman that he was dropped off by the wife. He said, bye, I'll see you guys later, like speaking in full sentences, and went from that to he lost his pulses and lost his life within an hour.
There has been patients where, the family can't be here, so they either FaceTime, and that's how they say their goodbyes.
Telling families that, on the iPad to talk to them, because it's like, this might be your last chance to talk to them. Not a lot of people, unfortunately, are making it. So having some of those really honest conversations, knowing that this kind of might be their last waking moments.
We always try to make sure that they didn't die alone, and we were there with them holding their hand.
I was definitely overwhelmed with the constant codes or the amount of codes that were called in a day, and it did take a toll on me. It did, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat it and say that it was easy, because it wasn't.
We respond to codes, it's just you hear that bing and you're flying past, and 7 of those might happen.
Coming one day to the unit and draw the blood in a patient, and next day just see the same body in a bag is hard.
And what follows is usually a conversation with family, shrieking cries, and hearing that over and over and over during that time was hard.
It was a Sunday afternoon, and I get a call from my boss saying that we're gonna have to use the trailers because there's a surge of people passing away. Our in-house morgue was completely full.
People are dropping their family members off as a last resort so we could do something for them. They're not even able to be there for them, and the last time they're gonna see them is picking their family out of a truck.
We had a gentleman come in. He was still conscious at the time, and he was just really scared. I remember I was trying to put an IV in, his hand, and he just wanted to hold my hand.
There was this one patient, he was really sad and depressed, and it was hard to see someone go through something like that, and he didn't make it. And so I think that because I allowed myself to get attached, it made it difficult, especially when you realize, like, you know, a lot of the people that come here don't have families. And so I make sure, like, hey, like, I'm your family, you know? Like, I'm here for you. Even though if it's just for a little while, like, I can do that for you.
I think being an expectant mother during COVID was a very scary time for a lot of our patients, not only for themselves, but for the baby that they're about to bring into this world and their entire families. So as an OBGYN, I think we really had to step up and not only be their physician, but also be the person who's supporting them even more so.
A lot of the patients, you know, they kind of, you know, became part of like my family, and like just seeing them, you know, sometimes not make it, that was really hard for me. I tried to find ways for me to cope, and some of the ways that I found, just like writing their names down and putting them in a box as a way for me to be able to remember them.
As tough as it was to see patients not make it, I like to think that there were also just as many opportunities where we had patients who got better and recovered.
I think when it got really scary is when one of our own coworkers got sick. She was intubated. She was one of our sickest patients. There was a point where all you could do was pray. As time went by, she started getting better and better, and she made it home safely. It took her almost a whole year. I know she just came back to work, and that was very inspiring to see you can actually help people with COVID.
Monday, December 15th, was a normal day. I left for work, and one of my coworkers came in, and he said, "Good morning," and he said, "You don't look good." And I said, "Yeah, I'm kind of feeling just a little tired." I said, "I just think it's just my allergies." So by the end of the day, I got off from work, and I could barely walk to the parking lot. So my husband drove me here, and it was all I could do was just make it through the doors. Someone came out and says, "Oh, you have COVID." As I was admitted into the hospital, Hector, one of my coworkers, came into the room to draw my blood. He touched my arm. He just didn't know how much it meant to me just to hear a familiar voice and to have a little touch, even if it was through a glove. It meant so much.
One patient that we finally extubated, he was tracking and interactive. His family had said he really liked classic rock. So we put on some classic rock, and seeing him FaceTime with his family was pretty special.
My husband is a C.N.A. at home facility. He did have to quarantine for a month with just me and my 2 boys. For a month was really difficult. This hospital helped me through it, and my team helped me through it.
And I thank God for White Memorial. I thank God for what they stand for. I thank God that there were people praying for me.
I can't speak more highly of our nurses, respiratory therapists, physical therapists, custodial services, and the rest of the ancillary staff.
They really dug in, and they really, you know, they shined through this whole, through the pandemic. They still shine now.
Everybody's so supportive. We help each other. So I think that this is so challenging, but same time, we build up a better team.
I always said I wish I could have a camera on me and just walk through the hospital with it, because as much as people say that they understand, you really don't until you are in there.
Beating this disease, to me, it felt like we did something very, very, very powerful.